Hello, my name is Tracy Allen, and I want to welcome you to Cooking with Some Friends. Good morning and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I'm so glad you joined us this morning. I'm a little bit stuffy this morning, but it'll pass. So I'm going to share with you a recipe this morning that my mother-in-law used to make, and she was a great cook, and this is her recipe for chocolate marshmallow cookies. And so I've done a few things ahead of time. One of those things that I did, I took 1 3/4 cup of flour and I sifted that, and that's in my bowl. To that, I am going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And a 1/2 cup of cocoa. And I'm just going to whisk these together and then set this aside while I do my other ingredients. I do have my 2 cookie sheets out, and they're covered with parchment. I'm preheating my oven to 375. And everybody's oven, even though they're supposed to be accurate, I've tried to make sure mine is by using the thermometer, but my top oven even bakes differently than my bottom oven. So you just need to know your oven, but 375 is what normally I bake these at. You can go 350 if your oven goes a little bit hot. So I'm going to set this aside. And I have out spoons to form the cookies, but I think you could use your cookie scoop. I'm just not sure because this is a pretty thick dough, and I'm not sure how it works. I've never done it. I've just used spoons. Okay, so in my other bowl, I am going to mix, set that over farther, a 1/2 cup of shortening, just regular Crisco, and 1 cup of sugar, just granulated sugar. And I needed that. 1 egg that I want to beat just a little bit. And a 1/2 cup of milk. And a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to beat these ingredients together, and then I'm going to add, a teaspoon. I'm going to add those dry ingredients to it, and then I'm going to form those using my 2 spoons or my cookie scoop and put those on the cookie sheet to bake. And they need to bake about 8 minutes, at which point you're going to take them out of the oven, and you're going to put about 3 or 4 mini marshmallows on the top of that, and then put it back in the oven for another minute or 2. It may take a little longer. You just want the marshmallows to be browned and starting to be gooey. Then you're going to let those cool and then ice them. And so I'm going to beat these together, come back and show you them together, and put the other ingredients and then form them. My wet ingredients, I've mixed those together with my mixer. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my dry ingredients. And I'm going to do this in 2 additions just so it's not quite as messy. You just want to make sure you don't overmix anytime you use flour. Okay, so this is ready to form into our cookies. So I'm gonna get those things, the extra from the sides. And I'm gonna try my cookie scoop, but like I said, I'm not sure because I've never actually used it. On this particular cookie, I normally use my 2 spoons, but we'll see if it will release. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and form these, and make sure you leave some room between because they do expand. And I'm gonna continue to do this and then put these in the oven for about 8 minutes, take them out, put the marshmallows on, and then return them to the oven. Okay, 1 sheet of our cookies has baked. Now I'm gonna take the marshmallows and push them into the cookie, and you can use just a couple of marshmallows or you can use 4 or 5. It just depends on the size of your cookie. So I'm gonna continue to do this, and then I'm gonna put this back in the oven anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes depending on your oven. So it melts those marshmallows right into the cookie. My marshmallows, I baked this for, it took about another 3 minutes in my oven, and they've started to melt down. So now I'm just gonna let these cool completely before I make the icing. But you can do one of 2 things. You can either put them on, take them off the sheet, put them on a cooling rack, or you can just slide the whole sheet off. If you have some place you can let them cool, because you're gonna want them on the parchment or on over some parchment when you go to ice them, so that it doesn't make quite a mess, such a mess. Our cookies are completely cooled, so let's get the icing made and get that on them. So for the icing, I have 2 cups of powdered sugar in my bowl, and to that I'm gonna add a 1/2 cup of cocoa. And before I add my milk with my mixer, I'm gonna mix that together just so that it doesn't come flying out at me when I actually use the mixer. And to that, just depending on the consistency that you want, you're gonna put in 4 to 6 tablespoons of milk. And so I have that in my measuring cup, but I'm not gonna use all of it right away because I don't know that I'll need it. Here we have our icing, and it's almost pourable. That's why I told you were going to want to make sure you had your cookies still on some parchment. Move these over here in front of us. So then all you have to do is put the icing over them, let that dry or set, and then your cookies will be ready to eat. I'm just going to continue to ice my cookies. But make sure you let it set completely before you try to pick these up or serve them, because it will be messy if you don't. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I hope you're enjoying your morning actually here. But I made some gifts around Christmas time of simple things and threw them together. And one of those that I made a hot chocolate mix with some espresso in it for some of my relatives, and then packaged that. And so I thought this would be kind of nice to have for everybody to have. Just, well, the weather is cold and you need something warm to drink. I mean, I drink my coffee, but hot chocolate's nice sometimes too. So I'm going to share with you my recipe for hot cocoa, and this mix will store really well. I can put it in a mason jar or any container that you can seal and store it for a long time. So anyway, so our hot cocoa mix with espresso. I have 2 1/4 cups of powdered sugar in my bowl. And to that, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of cocoa. Now, some people prefer dark cocoa, and that gives a really rich flavor, but I just don't like a lot of dark chocolate. So what I normally do is, since it calls for 1.5 cups of dark cocoa, the recipe, I like to use 1/2 cup of dark cocoa, and then better quality, the Ghirardelli cocoa, I like to use it, and I'll use that to make a cup, the other cup, this cocoa. And it's just an unsweet cocoa, but it's got a really good flavor. So I need a cup of it. So I've got my powdered sugar and my 2 different kinds of cocoa. And then to that, I also want to add 1 cup of non-dairy creamer. And you can use vanilla or French vanilla. And in this instance, I'm using French vanilla. And I have part of a container from when I made it before, but I need my other container too. So I need 1 cup of the non-dairy creamer. So 1 cup. And the French vanilla just adds a little more, another level of flavor, so it's always good to have. Okay. I always like to put my lids back on because I'm notorious for dropping or tipping those things. I also need about a teaspoon of salt. Again, just for flavor. And then 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. When you make this as gifts, it's really nice because you can, if you double it and use pint jars, you have enough for 4 gifts and some for you to have for yourself. Okay. And the only other thing I need is my espresso. And you don't want to overpower your mix with espresso. So I'm just going to put in 1 teaspoon, and my 1/2 teaspoon fell off. So that's what I'm going to use. And that's just espresso powder. Then all you have to do is whisk these together. And make sure you whisk them well so that everything is really well incorporated. And then I'm going to put this in my quart jar. And I'm not going to fill it quite to the top because on top I want to put in, it's actually about 1/8 to 1/4 cup of mini chocolate chips. And then when we go to use this after they've been shaken and mixed into it, you'll get a little bit of that flavor too. And you could use, I like semi-sweet, but you could use your dark chocolate chips there too if you like dark chocolate. You could even use white chocolate chips. Some people will put marshmallows on the top, mini marshmallows, so they have those in their hot chocolate, especially if you're going to give it as a gift. I've got powdered sugar on me, imagine that. Okay, so this is ready to go into my quart jar. Any dry mixes like this, cookie mixes or hot cocoa mixes, make wonderful gifts. Especially if you know what your crowd likes or what your person really likes. More. And I can dump my mini chips on top. And then this is ready for the lid. So there you have our hot chocolate mix with espresso. When you're going to make your hot cocoa mix and espresso, you want to take 6 ounces of warm hot milk or water. You could use water if you want to, but milk just gives it a richer flavor. So 6 ounces of that to 2 to 3 tablespoons of the mix. If you find it's not strong enough, you can just add a little bit more, or the next time just add a little bit less. So 2 to 3 tablespoons of the mix with 6 ounces. Thanks for joining us for this session of Cooking with Some Friends. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And find us on Facebook at Cooking with Some Friends.